Alright guys, got a 04 Toyota van. Customer says the vehicle does not start. Let's see if it spins over or what's going on with it. Huh. Alright. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but that doesn't sound normal. Let's take a look under the hood. I don't know, I'm gonna crank it first. I'm gonna crank it first. Sound like a starter to me. Hold on, let me get my stick right. All right, I'm gonna tap on the starter while he tries to crank it. Let's see if we can get it going. Go ahead. Hi-ho. All right, his starter's toast. So we'll go ahead and get a starter ordered and we'll get it put on. I'll show you how to do it. All right, you remove the batteries held on with a 10mm. Be careful if you hit the positive side. Always do negative side first. That way if you go to the positive side and you hit something, you're not going to cause a short.
You never take the battery out, right?
You'd be surprised. I've seen people do it all the time.
You don't take the battery out?
I was going to take it out.
Yeah, well, electric press wouldn't work without doing on that. You do it on these, yeah. Okay, we need to, where's your tray?
This is a pretty simple procedure. This job can probably be done at home. The skill level on this is probably about a 2. Basically, this starter, you're going to remove the battery and the breather box assembly, and then we'll show you where the starter is. There is a little sensor on that transmission, so when you go to take out the front starter bolt, you want to crack it by hand. Don't use any air tools because you could crack that sensor, and then you got to buy a sensor, and that's just wasted money.
You got one coming, starter? You can wait to get it out and look at it.
I'm gonna get out and look at it. Should be all right. The front part of the breather is held on and look like about a 10mm. You'll remove this cover, just set it aside. You're gonna remove the upper cover and then remove the box second. The upper cover, you're gonna have to take off the intake hose. It's right here. That looks like maybe about a 10mm. You can just loosen that up. It's got a 10 right here. Looks like we need extension on that. And that brace may have to come out of the way too, just for easiness, because it's right above that starter. It'd be easier to get your hand on it. Oh, I loosened up the intake. Yeah, all right, loosen it. I'm just gotta get a bolt out of this. We're gonna take the top off.
Are they 10?
That's a 10, yep. Do we need a longer extension, or are you good with that?
Got one in the back? Yeah, somebody already taken it out.
Yeah, it's already missing. Gotta unplug that one hose.
All right, I got a red on top, a green center.
No, you're okay. It's gonna fall right back in line.
I got it.
You gotta remove the vacuum lines going to the breather box. Gonna unplug the mass airflow sensor. If you look at the breather, there should be 2 10mm bolts that have to come out. Someone's already took out the back one and they've lost it, but we'll definitely try to find a bolt and go back in there.
How strong are your fingers?
The breather box on the inside, there's 2 10mm right down inside there. So far when you're doing this job, pretty much 10 millimeter does it all. Does the battery, the box, the breather, the brackets on the front. There's a bracket down here that you'll need to take off to get it out of the way.
Somebody already taking that out.
And somebody has already removed the front bolt, which we're going to try to fix that when we go back. But basically this whole job can be done with a 10 millimeter plus whatever size the starter is. It just snaps in. Can we get it?
That's when the screwdriver pried.
See, I do this every time because I work like that. You want a longer screwdriver?
Dirt had it covered up.
Oh, okay.
Dirt had it covered up, boss.
So we're going to regroup on that. There are 3 10 millimeter bolts hold that bottom breather on. Yeah. Plus when you get it out, make sure you take it and clean out all the trash that's in there. You don't need to go back with trash. Here's your starter right here. Here's the sensor I was telling you about. So you want to make sure you do it by hand. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the positive wire going to the starter. The big wire is the wire that's directly off the battery on most cars. There is always that exception. The 2 bolts for that starter are 14 millimeters. Once you break it loose by hand, you can go ahead and get an air ratchet or electric ratchet if you have one and get it off the rest of the way.
Looky, starter.
There you go. 1 starter. All right, guys, here's your bad starter. I'm gonna go ahead and get the new one ordered and we'll get it put in. Catch you in a bit. All right, when you're going back with this, it's just reverse procedure. But then still you have to be cautious. Start everything by hand so you don't cross thread nothing. Look out for sensors. Bolt there. And 1 right there. He just snugged them up with the electric ratchet. But the safest thing to do is after you do that, go back with a hand ratchet and make sure they're tight. All right, when you're putting that battery wire back on, it only goes on one way. Make sure you put it on there correctly so when you go to put your nut on there and tighten it up, you don't break anything. The aftermarket nut is a 12. Factory was a 13. Now you're gonna plug in the signal wire. That's it. Goes right there.
I know where it goes, but I thought it was a 1 prong, or this is a 2 prong.
I don't know, I didn't look at that. Let's go back with the bottom cover. Make sure all your sensor wires are out of the way and don't lose them. Stick them back like this, so we can go back in there and find them later.
And that sits down.
What he did was he went ahead and put the bracket, started the bracket on that back bolt before he bolted it down.
Yeah.
Just makes it a little bit easier when you're putting it back in, lining things up. Leave it loose also when you're doing it. Just little tricks like that when you're doing these jobs that kind of make it easier, especially if you're doing it at home and you're not 100% sure what you're doing. And before you tighten any of those bottom breather bolts, get everything started. Get the 2 that are left on the back side of the breather box and the 2 bracket bolts. Way it gives you the option to move the box around a little bit so you're not fighting yourself. See, we were just talking. He does things different than I do. When I'm doing one, I put my sockets back in order each time. He lays them out. Everybody has gonna have a different preference when you're doing these kind of jobs. Everybody's a little bit different. But it's like I tell you, there's no right or wrong way when you're doing things like that. It more or less is what works for you. Stick it in the hole, man.
Working on it. Gotta go in there.
Just stick it in, baby. Stick it in. What are you talking about here?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It's got to go in there. No, it should have.
No, shoulda, coulda.
There you go.
Nah. In like Flynn now.
Done deal. Let's see how this bad
Don't forget your battery tray. Battery goes next.
pretty much.
You know what? That battery sound awfully weak. Do it again. Let it run for just a little bit. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps me out a lot when you guys do that. Appreciate you watching. Catch you later.